So this is a 15-minute slot. It's going to be a bit of a whistle-stop tour of the importance of customer insight for Highways England since its formation. So looking back a bit and then looking forward. So 15 minutes I'm going to fly through. Okay, bit of context first of all. Some facts and figures I'm sure some of you will be familiar with. But I just thought I'd draw some of them out from a customer point of view. 4 million journeys a day on the strategic road network. 3 times as many people use the strategic road network as use rail. 90% of businesses in England are within 10 miles of the strategic road network, and also traffic growth. We've seen 50% traffic growth in the last 25 years and expect to see another 30% in the next 20 years. So, what do we do as a company? We're here to connect the country, Highways England. In doing so, we need to make sure these journeys are safe and reliable. And to do this, we need to understand the needs and the behaviours of the people making those journeys. Those people are our customers. If anybody was at Anthony's slot in the Jacobs Theatre earlier on, I'm going to repeat something that he said, which is, our customers are not a homogenous mass. So that's an important thing that's hopefully obvious, but they're not a homogenous mass. We've got many different types of customers. They don't fit into neat boxes. It's quite complex. We've got users of the network, commuters, motorcyclists, users with disabilities, home delivery companies, cyclists, walkers, horse riders. We've got users of our information services who might not necessarily actually use the network. And we've got communities who live alongside the network and businesses that operate alongside the network. So a whole mass and a diverse range of customers that we need to accommodate. I just wanted to talk very briefly about where did we start before I talk about the work of Highways England. It's just to rewind back about 5 years and say, where do we start? So you look at that slide. I'm not saying we had empty roads when we were the Highways Agency, far from it. I'll come back to that in a sec. Where did we start as the Highways Agency? So, as an organisation, we did a lot of great customer-focused stuff, to my mind. There was some really good stuff going on. It tended to be in pockets, so there was some good stuff going on, and there was some real positive developments. For example, the creation of the Traffic Officer Service. So we had a resource out there on the network talking to our customers every single day. So lots of good stuff that happened within the Highways Agency. However, there was something that wasn't always front of mind around customers. I often use that slide with the empty road. So a quick story. I did a review of customer service in 2014 to go to the board. And I looked across the whole organisation, and I went to our comms team and I said, can you do me a front cover for me report, please? And they came back with an empty road with some lovely fresh blacktop. And I thought, there's something not quite right about a customer report with an empty road with some fresh blacktop. And I looked back at our corporate communications around that time, and lots of our publications had empty roads. So, to my mind, that kind of summed up in many ways where we were in terms of customers not being front of mind. So the focus then was primarily on the asset rather than the users of the asset. So, we needed to shift our focus, and that's what we've done during the course of the past 5 years in Highways England. A quick run through that slide. One of the first things we did, when Jim came in as new CEO, he created the 3 imperatives: safety, customer service, delivery. That was fantastic. It showed customer service to be a priority. What do we do next? We looked at some, taken on a wide range of research, but we positioned it almost as a blank sheet of paper to say, not what do you think about this asset, we said, tell us about your journey. And what we tried to draw out of that was how people felt. So it was all about feelings. We put the focus on how you wanted to make people feel. So we took that research, we took the thinking around feelings, and we translated that into the creation of a customer service strategy. An extract from it there, the pyramid. Okay. So during RIS1, what we've done with that customer service strategy is primarily to focus on the delivery of the basics. So we focused on the basics. We haven't gone for the big stuff. We've focused on the basics. And to do that, from a customer insight point of view, we've used a wide range of insight. Many things that we haven't done before. We created a customer panel. We've used a wide range of surveys. We've done a lot more in terms of social media sentiment analysis. We've done lots of bespoke research, including behavioural approaches, company drives, use of simulators. So we've done a lot more. We've also worked closely with Transport Focus during the course of RIS1 to understand satisfaction, and also working with them with their ongoing programme of research. The last thing is, insight's all very well, but you need to create cultural change as well if you're going to embed this stuff. So we've worked hard to change the culture within the organisation to make sure there's a focus on customer to embed this stuff. So, a shift in focus as an organisation. And I think we've got to a point now within Harveys England where insight really is part of what we do. Over the past 5 years, for example, the customer insight team has done over 200 research projects alone. There's been other research that's been carried on across the organisation, but it's become part of what we do. I could talk for the rest of the morning about some of the examples that we've done over the past 5 years, but I'll pick on a couple. Variable signs and signals, a subject close to my heart. We've basically overhauled our VMS legends. We've co-created those with road users. So we've thought differently about that. We've thought about how they make people feel, and we've worked with customers to come up with new legends. Small example up there, as opposed to previously we'd say, debris, slow down. We now say, report a debris, which is kind of telling the truth. It sounds like a small thing, but what it does, it makes people trust what they're seeing. If they trust what they see, they're more likely to comply. You've therefore got safety benefits as well as customer satisfaction benefits. So some of these small changes have real links into safety as well. 60 mile an hour through roadworks, I'm absolutely not going to talk about that. Instead, I'm going to do a plug for Meg, who's over there, who's doing a slot at 1300 in the Harveys England Theatre. So Meg will tell you all about that and the use of insight for 60 mile an hour through roadworks. We've increasingly used a lot of varied insight in the way we've done campaigns. We've done campaigns differently. It's been shaped by research. We've involved customers in the development of that research. The campaign around tailgating was something different. It was to raise awareness, and it was to give a clear instruction, all done working with customers and using insight. The other thing to remember as well is insight is now increasingly used in scheme development and delivery as well. So it isn't just about the signs you see on the road, it's about delivery as well. It's about making sure we're delivering the right things in the right way. So it's getting to the heart of all three imperatives and getting to the heart of what Harveys England does. Looking to the future. Remember, looking back, it's been about consistent delivery of the basics. Looking ahead, we need to build on that. Okay, so it's about building on the previous work. It's about maximising the use of the evidence we've got. And importantly, it's about synthesising it. Let's not reinvent the wheel. We need to really understand customers' needs, and we need to use it. So just going through a few areas in terms of how we might do that. Customer segmentation. So we've done some work during the course of RIS1 to look not just at segmenting customers by user type, but also segmenting them by behaviour. So we're interested in how different groups of customers behave. We've done work on that. We need to build on that. There's a lot more to do in that area to really understand how we segment customers and how we can target our interventions. There's also much greater scope for using behavioural approaches to encourage positive behaviour. So it's how do we influence what road users actually do out in the network, not just understanding but influencing. There's work to be done in terms of community insight. So we talk about road users, how do we understand more about those people who live close to the network? So there's work going on to understand and build on what we've done in terms of community insight. We need to work even more closely with Transport Focus as well. There's no point us, as I say, reinventing the wheel, duplicating effort. We need to work really, really closely with Transport Focus, using the new strategic roads user survey, which is a great improvement. It's really going to help us as an organisation. Looking at some of the bespoke surveys, such as freight, coach drivers, different types of users, and the bespoke research that Transport Focus are doing. Other things I'd like to see during the course of future roads periods is developing ways to establish immediate customer feedback. What we've got is a way of gleaning insight that kind of looks back. I want something more immediate, so it's something we're keen to explore. How do we get immediate customer feedback? There's also more to do about getting our people to see through customers' eyes. You might see a picture in the bottom right corner. It's a picture of a classroom, and it's some virtual reality training we did with our control room operators. What we did with that, we took all of our control room operators and we put them through an exercise where they would sit in a virtual reality exercise, and they would sit alongside customers. So they might sit alongside in an immersive environment with a lorry driver and experience what the lorry driver experienced. And they get to empathise with what the lorry driver experienced, but also they saw the impact of their actions on customers as well. There's a lot more we can do in this area to work with immersive technology and to really get our people seeing things through customers' eyes. The other thing we need to do looking ahead is not just look back. It might sound obvious. We need to be thinking about how do we predict the future? How do we understand what the future holds, how customers are going to behave, not only now, but in the future. The key to that is, as I said at the start, synthesising the evidence we've got, making good use of what Highways England's got, what other organisations have got, doing a lot more by way of social research and trying to predict the future and trying to understand what's going to happen. So, how are we going to use insight as we look ahead? I'd sum it up in a couple of ways. Firstly, it's about forming the basis of our annual customer service plans. So our focus is still on continuous improvement. There's lots of big developments going to happen in the future, but actually we've got to continuously improve. So we're using insight to support that continuous improvement process. But it's also necessary to inform our thinking around digital roads and understanding the customers of the future. And ultimately for us, it's about connecting the country. So, finally, to sum up, my opinion, as I'm sure you'd expect with my role, is that customer insight is here to stay. It's something we've started using. We're going to carry on using customer insight. We've done a lot over the last 5 years, but there's a lot more that we can do, but more importantly, must do to inform what we do as an organisation. Finally, before I finish up, no time for any questions. If anybody does have any comments or any questions, please grab me during the course of the day. Thank you very much.